All right, now, listeners, let me tell you what we're doing right here. We're doing the inaugural show for 2013 of Conversations from the Capitol. This show is many years old. As a matter of fact, this show started many years ago with someone who's now a great U.S. Senator for the state of Nevada. That's Senator Dean Heller, who originally was on this show. He was Secretary of State Dean Heller, and we created Conversations from the Capitol, and week after week he would come down and tell us what was going on. Well, taking his place and filling his shoes and doing it very well is State Senator Don Gustavson.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Eddie. It's great to be here this morning. It's got some big shoes to fill there with Dean Heller. He did a great job when he had this program on earlier, a few years back. So I'm going to try and do what best I can while I'm here to help out.
Well, State Senator, we're looking so forward to it, and we actually heard from his office yesterday when we were live, and because they were bringing us up to date as he got sworn in as Senator, yesterday.
Right. Yesterday they all got sworn in, and now we got a new Congress to look at, and they scare me just as much as the last one.
They scare me to death, I tell you. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for some great ones like Senator Heller and someone I think's a good one too, and that's Congressman Mark Amadei, to me, I think they're a bunch of perfume parlor snakes. But now let's get to the state of Nevada here, and the host of Conversations from the Capitol, State Senator Don Gustavson. We got a lot going on when it comes to BDRs, and we're talking about bill draft resolutions coming up. And if you don't mind, State Senator, some of the questions that have been just flooding in, phone calls, emails, you name it, and they said have Senator Gustavson talk about some of them and really dissect them, if you will. And it looks like that's what you're kicking the inaugural show off with.
Yes, that's what we're doing, Eddie, today. It's a bill that we're going to be talking about today is the National Defense Authorization Act. And with me as my guest who is promoting this from PANDA is Chris Corbett. He's here with us this morning. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Chris, and one of the things State Senator Gustavson always does here on Conversations from the Capitol, could you personalize this show for us a little bit about yourself personally, and then we'll get into details. This is what we call a softball in radio. Where were you born? Where'd you go to school? And what led you to be doing what you're doing today with PANDA?
Well, I grew up on the East Coast, originally from Delaware. I've lived in several places, Florida, Alabama for a few months, and Southern California, and then up to Tahoe, and then down to Reno. So, I've been all over the country as far as going to school. So, but as far as getting involved with PANDA, I came across and discovered the National Defense Authorization Act last year, right around this time. It was about January 6th was the day that I first heard about the National Defense Authorization Act. And I was just shocked by what it authorized in the 2012 version of that. And so I decided it was time to get involved and to do something, to stand up and to speak out and to just get involved. So I felt like my self-indulgent bubble had been burst, and it was time to get active and stand up, for something, because I felt like under the National Defense Authorization Act, the authorization for indefinite detention and assassination without trial, I thought was a pretty grave and serious issue.
Now let's give, Chris, our listeners a perspective of the National Defense Authorization Act, which we call NDAA for short, so we don't have to spell that out, say it every time. But anyway, the NDAA bill is actually it's a bill that's been around since almost 2001, 2. I think it was originally passed back then by Congress.
No, according to my information that I have, it's been passed every year going back to about 49 years.
49 years, okay, right.
Wow.
But since the Patriot Act was passed, this has really been opened up. Many people have seen what's in the act, and every year they amend it or reauthorize. They have to reauthorize, I guess. So, but they always amend it and make changes to it. So this is what's been concerning a lot of citizens out there throughout the country. It's not just here in Nevada.
Well, historically, it's been a benign piece of legislation in that it's, again, been voted on and passed every year for each of the last 49 years, and its primary function is to establish Defense Department funding for the coming year. Basically, every year that they amend it, what was there the previous year remains. It just kind of layers on top. So it's not like you're trading in an old car for a new car each year. The provisions from the previous years are still there until they're amended.
Right. So then what you came to me about was asking that we could do something. There's sections in last year's 2012 Act that was passed, I think it's Section 1021, 1022, if I'm correct.
That's correct.
That the citizens are getting really concerned about because it does not spell out, let me get it here, what it says in 1021.22. Can you quote that? Do you have it right there? Oh, here. In 1021 says, Congress affirms that the authority of the President to use all necessary and appropriate force pursuant to the authorization of the use of military force, public law, etc., includes the authority for the armed forces of the United States to detain covered persons, which is defined in another section, pending disposition of the law of war. Now, this states covered persons. It does not say, it does not exclude U.S. citizens. So therefore, if somebody is doing something that's Al-Qaeda type activities or terrorist activities of any type, if they're an American citizen, then there's a lot of concern that they may be detained.
Yes, that's correct. If you read on
without
further,
due process.
Right, absolutely. If you read on further, in section B there, it says covered persons. Covered person under this section is any person as follows: a person who planned, authorized, committed, or aided the terrorist attacks that occurred on September 11th, 2001, or harbored those responsible for those attacks. And two, it says a person who was a part of or substantially supported Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, or associated forces that are engaged in hostilities against the United States or its coalition partners, including any person who has committed a belligerent act or has directly supported such hostilities in aid of such enemy forces. This is where it becomes unclear. It's a very vague section here. What is substantially supported? What are associated forces? What's a belligerent act? These are all questions.
It's very vague to me. Sounds like to me. So they could just about, for any reason, arrest somebody, or just not even arrest them, but just corral them up, as you say,
I mean,
and then detain them without due process of law.
Correct. And being that. What another thing that the National Defense Authorization Act is, it declares the United States to be a battlefield in the war on terror. And on the battlefield, military law prevails over civilian law. So this is in conflict with the Constitution at the moment. Basically, if the National Defense Authorization Act is put into, well, it is law right now, although it's debatable whether it's a constitutional law. But basically, it's in conflict with the Constitution.
Right. No, that's the way I look at it, too. I agree with you in that we do have to have that due process of law.
So Don, basically, and what I'm hearing, and quite frankly, as I can look out in the audience and see some of the looks on some of the people's faces, from Johnny to Tony to Kathy Button from Fallon, who just joined the audience here, and I'm inviting everybody, if you're driving around and listening to us, please stop by Reno Town Mall, meet State Senator Don Gustavson in person here on Conversations from the Capitol, or if you have any questions right now, you're certainly welcome to call in 775-827-8900. That number again is 775-827-8900. Don, once again, I see you picking the torch up, because anything to do with, the rights of the citizens, you're absolutely always on the side of the people.
Yes, Eddie. That's one of the reasons I got involved, as I've said many times before in these shows, that I got elected. I ran for office because I am sick and tired of every time the Congress meets or state legislature meets, we lose more and more of our rights, just a little bit at a time. But that's just like putting the frog in the cold water and heating it up slowly and slowly until you cook them.
Until he's boiled. You better believe it,
So I do want to do everything I can to protect our rights and freedoms and liberties as American citizens in this country and in the state of Nevada.
Well, and Chris, I'll come back to you. This does sound so broad brush that, quite frankly, it's not just some sort of, quote, conspiracy theory. By reading it in black and white, it does give them the power to round up the citizens and detain them without due process. And believe me, it's bad enough with process. So without due process, it gets worse.
Well, yeah, it further just states here, disposition under law of war. The disposition of a person under the law of war, as described in subsection A, may include the following: detention under the law of war without trial until the end of the hostilities authorized by the authorization for use of military force. So that right there states it. So basically, we're under the law of war, under the NDAA.
Yeah, and the amazing thing is, Senator Gustavson, who determines, when that's over, right?
Really.
It's the people who are detaining the other people. So that's the frightening part.
It's
that's
very unclear and doesn't, as far as I can see, it does not protect the American citizen.
Right, absolutely.
It's just taking away our rights.
The war on terror is basically a war of ideas. Basically, how can you win a war of ideas? It's a never-ending war.
Exactly, Chris. And like I said, if there's one thing I know for a fact, it's that our state senator, by the way, been doing this for decades now, over 4 decades, and I've never met a politician who, if you will, relates more to his constituents than State Senator Don Gustavson. You put them all together, and nobody relates more to the people than State Senator Don Gustavson. So when he does what we refer to a BDR, a bill draft resolution, believe me, it's for the right of the people.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah, I agree. And I commend Don Gustavson for his courage as far as taking this on and submitting BDR.
Speaking of courage, are you catching flack already?
Well, not really, not yet. So it's this is really the first show that we've done on it and really talked about it. There's been a lot of meetings we have meetings every Wednesday that conservatives go to and talk about all the different issues. This is one of the issues that comes up quite regularly, and it's getting, I'd say, hotter and hotter all the time. So we're looking forward to presenting this bill draft request and getting it introduced during the next session, which starts next month.
A meeting of conservatives. Now, I'll tell you what, I would love to hear more about that because there's a lot of people who think they're a dying breed. This is Conversations from the Capitol with State Senator Don Gustavson talking about a very important issue. We want you to get involved. We're at the Reno Town Mall now, or give us a call, 775-827-8900. Again, 827-8900. Reno, Nevada has tons of sports bars and several Irish pubs, but quite frankly, there's only one Foley's Irish Pub. It's located at 2780 South Virginia. Their phone number is area code 775-829-8500. If you've ever stopped by there for a libation, then you know exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm going to share with you right now. Without a doubt, they have some of the best food, especially lunches, in all of northern Nevada. That's Foley's Irish Pub. Why don't you stop in and say to them that you heard it right here on Fox News Radio 99.1 FM Talk. Say that to Noel Foley, the owner of Foley's Irish Pub, and say hello to Bobby O, the best bartender in all of northern Nevada, who has put together and assembled some of the best-looking cocktail waitresses you have ever seen in northern Nevada. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Get down to Foley's Irish Pub right now. I'll see you there.
Come check out one of the Truckee Meadows' best-kept secrets, the Reno Town Mall. Located at 4001 South Virginia, the Reno Town Mall is just steps from the Reno Sparks Convention Center and is home to a variety of merchants, including a full-service grocery store, the all-new Food Source. Other tenants at the Reno Town Mall include the Washoe County Library, Burlington Coat Factory, Hong Kong Nails, Judy's Dance Shop, Milka's Hair Design, and the New Horizons Computer Learning Center.
This unique urban mall will fit in perfectly with your busy lifestyle. Stop at the Aroma Club Cafe for your morning coffee, or perhaps a quick business lunch at Round Table Pizza. Check out the Great Works of China Import Store. The Reno Town Mall is also home to the Reno Sparks Convention and Visitors Authority and Nevada Matters Media. Come join the audience as we record live radio shows. Stop by the Reno Town Mall today for the best Reno has to offer. For more information, visit us online at renotownmall.org.
Right now, Nevada Matters Media is running a very wonderful special for your business. It's only $250, and here's what you'll get for that $250. You'll receive 10 spots, 1-minute spots on any or all of the 5 radio stations that Nevada Matters Media is doing business with here in northern Nevada, as well as a free smartphone app for your smartphone all about your business or services. And it gets better. You'll receive a computer, mouse, monitor, keyboard loaded with Windows 7 and Microsoft Office to be given to the veteran of your choice, and you can take receipt of the computer and give it to them yourself. I want you to call Nevada Matters right now. The phone number is 775 775-827-8900. $250, 10 spots, smartphone app, and a computer. 775-827-8900.
Major League Baseball players are getting in on the action.
Hi, I'm Michael Young.
I'm Chris Young.
I'm Carlos Pena, and we're getting in on the action.
Thousands of high school students across the country are getting in on the action by volunteering in their communities.
Action teams of high school students are joining Volunteers of America and Major League Baseball players to help train and inspire the next generation of volunteers.
It's easy to start an action team at your school, so you too can get in on the action. Are you in?
Log on to actionteam.org. Are you in?
The Northern Nevada Rave Family Foundation is a nonprofit organization that provides respite care to families caring for children with special needs. At the Rave Family Center, children with special needs, children in foster care, and their siblings get one-on-one attention while their caregivers get a much-needed and deserved break. Rave provides a safe and loving environment where all children are viewed as unique and capable individuals. For more information about the Northern Nevada Rave Family Foundation, visit them online at raveforkids.org.
All right, we are back now with State Senator Don Gustavson and the 2013 inaugural show of Conversations from the Capitol, a show that is well over a decade old right now, but is now hosted by State Senator Don Gustavson. One correction, I was calling BDRs a bill draft resolution. I was corrected during that last break. It's actually a bill draft request. Don't know what I was thinking other than the fact when State Senator Don Gustavson puts it out there, to me it's a resolution. But it's a request. Let's get back to the host of this show, State Senator Don Gustafson.
Yes, Eddie. What we introduce as legislators right now are bill draft requests. We're requesting a bill to be drafted, basically, is what it is. But you're partially right on resolutions because there are a lot of resolutions. In fact, a lot of states have already introduced this or are planning to introduce this as a resolution. Now, there's a big difference between a resolution and a bill draft, or an actual bill, is that a resolution is just something that you put together stating your concerns and sending that to Congress and saying, this is what we are very concerned about. We'd like to see this changed, or however you write the resolution.
Wow.
But if you write it up as a bill and put a little teeth into it, then you can, if something is done or the federal agents or somebody tries to come in here and enforce an unconstitutional law, then we could, according to the bill I'm introducing, could have enforcement powers into there where they could be arrested for trying to enforce an unconstitutional law.
Right.
So and with a fine involved and jail sentence involved. So many of the states, which we'll go to Chris in a minute here, have introduced this as resolutions, but I went through all the states and looked at their resolutions, and when I got to Texas, I saw that they had introduced a bill with some teeth in it, so that's what I'm proposing myself, a law that does have some teeth in there. There's a couple different categories. If federal agents come in here, that they will would probably be a Class C felony. If the local officials try and enforce a federal law, it would be a Class C. But these are just proposals right now. I'm not sure.
Right.
We're going to take a look at the penalties and see how stiff we want to make these penalties. So
sure.
I know some people would like to make them as stiff and, go back to the old Texas or Utah law of hanging people, but I don't know if we're going to go that far. But, treason is treason,
Well, sure, but the bottom line is, though, the State Senator, is the last legislation that I followed on a day-by-day almost basis with you was, I remember your bill draft request for 158, BDR 158, Senate bill that then became law, and for alternative sentencing. I really anticipate, you doing the same thing with this particular request as well. I think because it sounds as if, Chris, it's going to be something that people are certainly going to want to put into place for protection.
Well, absolutely. I've considered this to be a nonpartisan issue, and it's received very strong support. Just recently, back the beginning of December, the Michigan State House, for example, passed overwhelmingly 107 to none. So it has broad bipartisan support, and it's just a matter of getting the information out. The problem has been that the mainstream media is just not covering it. So the majority of people out there,
does it?
No, they don't want anybody to know.
Mainstream media is not going to cover it. They're too busy pushing, taking away the guns right now from the American people. I got to tell the listeners right now, especially our friends in Texas, because you heard State Senator mention Texas, and you guys did a good job putting teeth in a bill. So like that caller Jeff yesterday from Plano, Texas, let me give that number out for all of you nationwide right now listening to Conversations from the Capitol here in the great state of Nevada. Nevada, heard on 99.1 FM Talk, Fox News Radio, and Renegade Radio. That number is 775-827-8900. Again, 775-827-8900. Let's get back to the host of the show, State Senator Don Gustavson.
Thank you, Eddie. We're back here discussing the National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA, with Chris Corbett, who's with PANDA. And would you explain to us a little bit about PANDA, Chris?
Yeah, sure. PANDA is a national nonpartisan grassroots organization which, let me see here, which seeks the nullification of the unconstitutional authorizations under the NDAA at the state and local levels of government. As an organization, we're working to raise awareness of the NDAA's authorizations within the community and among our elected representatives. To date, we have brought this issue here up locally within the local community as well as within the state legislature. PANDA was founded back late January 2012 and has quickly grown to more than 90 chapters in 39 states, with 3 chapters here in Nevada. We have Washoe, Clark County, and Pahrump.
Wow, let me ask you a question, okay? Do you see it growing, going to other communities in Nevada as well?
Well, I don't know. Perhaps. I haven't seen anything since, I think Washoe was probably one of the first. I don't know when Clark came in, but they were soon thereafter. I do know that the group that we have, our chapter heads, are very passionate about this and have worked very hard to try and get a bill draft into the legislature and whatnot, and work locally as well. So we're very determined to see this thing through to the end.
Yes, I can vouch for that Chris has been very persistent and had many members from all over the state calling me and calling actually every legislator in the state to try and get somebody to introduce the bill. And since this is an issue that I'm really concerned about, I jumped on that right away and said, well, yes, I will do it, and we'll get this thing going, rolling, and try and get something passed that'll have some teeth in it.
And Senator Gustavson, we're proud of you for doing just that. Now, do you think you're going to be able to get some of the support from the assembly as well? Like, I know the gentleman who took your place, Ira Hansen, always thinks like you do, and he had some big shoes to fill, and he filled them pretty well as well.
Yeah, Ira's done a great job. Now, we've talked, I personally myself have talked to some other legislators, including Ira, James Settlemyre, Assemblyman, who's a senator now.
Right.
Assemblyman Jim Wheeler, who's just got elected to Assembly from Douglas County, and some of the others down south also that are considering co-sponsoring this bill too. They haven't seen the bill. I haven't explained it all yet to it. The last 6 weeks have been very busy for us, and after the elections, and so I haven't had the time to get actual co-sponsored on it, but a lot of them are ready to sign on to it.
Well, I hope so. And I'll tell you what, you mentioned him, so I will again. You received an email via nevadamatters@gmail.com for you from Jim Wheeler, okay, who said that you please tell State Senator Don Gustavson that if he ever needs me to fill in with him as a co-host on Conversations from the Capitol, I'll be honored to be on the same set with the state senator.
Yeah, I think Jim's going to turn out to be an excellent legislator down there. Him and I think quite a bit alike. He's very conservative. He's out there for the people. He's not out there for himself and what political gain he can get like some of these other legislators are.
Well, hell, like Settlemyre, they both wear cowboy hats. How do they go wrong here in Nevada?
Exactly.
You can't go wrong wearing a cowboy hat, right, Chris?
That's right.
I tell you, one of the things that I'm really, really impressed with is the fact that a lot of the listeners look in the audience here at Reno Town Mall. And also, Chris, I want to invite you to do the following. I want you to know that we'll take phone calls even after you leave the set, and we'll make sure we get that message to you with Debbie McCarthy emailing you the questions and comments about today's show. But what can we do as people? I'm just Don's announcer here on Conversations from the Capitol. But what can the audience do to help State Senator Gustavson with this bill draft request, et cetera?
Well, we're asking for support from the community, and we've been developing support within that community. And what I found is that when we need them to get involved, to make phone calls, to send out emails, it's been very effective. And it has helped us. It has helped to raise the awareness of our elected representatives that there is an interest within the community and there is concern regarding the unconstitutional authorizations of the NDAA within the local community and within the state. And it helps drive our initiative forward. So we do appreciate that. I just anybody who out there who might have supported us in the past, I just want to say thanks for your support. As well, we couldn't have come this far without that support, and we're going to need that support going forward. So I do have contact information if people want to get in touch with me. I have email. They can email me at PANDA, is spelled like the animal, Panda Unite Reno. So it's Panda Unite Reno at yahoo.com for my email. And then we also have a Facebook, I don't know, Facebook page is, if you just Google Reno Panda People Against the NDAA, you should find us there too.
It's education, isn't it, Senator Gustavson?
Yes, it is.
In other words,
right. And no, we appreciate Chris and his efforts there for informing people out there what the NDAA is and the unconstitutional parts about this bill. And we all know, Eddie, you and I know that there's always unconstitutional laws made back in D.C. and even in the state of Nevada. I mean,
sure.
But we're there to protect our citizens from these laws and want to do whatever we can to stop these bills from being passed. And once they are passed, then like the federal law that was passed, it's up to the states. The sovereign states are sovereign over the United States of America. The states are the ones that created the United States of America. It wasn't the other way around. And unfortunately, too many people, especially those back in Washington, D.C., don't believe that anymore. Wow. They think they are supreme over us, and they're not. They are a sovereign nation, and we are a sovereign state. We're two sovereigns. But we're not, they don't. The only power the United States government, Constitution, the United States Congress has, is in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. If it's not there, I can go to another area too. Just like all this defense money just got passed, $9.23 billion for Hurricane Sandy. Where in the Constitution is the federal government authorized to give out money like this? Just a special. I mean.
Boy, you got everybody shaking their head here in the audience. We want to invite you next week. Please come join Conversations from the Capitol with State Senator Don Gustavson or someone he selects as his co-host, and we start talking about how we need changes here in the state of Nevada. So stay tuned. We'll see you next week.